Hello, this video will provide a short overview on Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein as part of the Yonsei BK program. In 1816, a young lady of 18 visited Lord Byron at his summer house in Switzerland with her lover. Because of the cold weather, they couldn't do much outside, so they decided to spend time by the fire indoors, reading spooky stories to each other. Then, Lord Byron came up with the idea to write up short ghost stories themselves. She was unable to think of a good story for a while, but one evening she was suddenly possessed by a strange and terrifying imagination of a hideous phantasm of a man, which inspired her to write an entire novel 2 years later. And this is how Mary Shelley's renowned novel Frankenstein was born. The gist of the story is essentially a mad scientist being haunted by the creature he made. So Victor Frankenstein, a clever university student, decides to create a new life. But what he built turns out to be a huge, hideous monster instead of a beautiful human being. The creature disappears initially, but later reappears after killing Victor's younger brother. Victor immediately tries to kill the creature, but the creature implores him to hear out his story. Apparently, the creature is an extremely intelligent being and had been eager to be accepted by the human community. He has a very strong desire for love and acceptance. However, whenever he was sighted by humans, they chased him away, threw rocks at him, and tried to kill him. So he hid out in the woods away from the humans attacking him, and then later found a poor family living in a cottage. He secretly helped out this family in the hope of being accepted as their friend, but of course, once they saw him, they were horrified by his looks and attacked him, just like all the other humans. So, this lonely creature had come to Victor to request a female companion. He promised never to return to human societies once he gets his bride, and Victor consents reluctantly. He begins to work on the job, but eventually destroys the unfinished female in fear of these two monsters reproducing more baby monsters. Enraged, the creature swears revenge and kills everyone Victor loves one by one. The novel ends by Victor chasing the creature to the North Pole, and both of them die there. As a piece written during the Romantic period, Frankenstein embodies many of its features. So, Romanticism denotes a movement during the late 18th century to mid-19th century. As a reaction against the Age of Enlightenment, which emphasized values like reason, science, and rationality, Romanticism is characterized by emotion, individualism, and nature. So these ideals are clear within the narrative of Frankenstein. The natural scenery is described in much detail, and in relation to Victor's state or emotions. For instance, when he is in despair, the natural surroundings are described as dreary, cold, or wet. Also, Victor finds solace in the beauty of the tranquil nature whenever he is enraged by his thought on the monster. Moreover, the plot of a scientist's arrogance bringing his doom is a clear allusion to the attitude Shelley had towards science and the period of enlightenment. Aside from the influence of Romanticism, Frankenstein is also commonly analyzed under the scope of psychoanalysis. Often, the creature is read as the representation of the dark desires of the human mind. In Freudian terms, usually Victor takes the place of the superego, while the creature is seen as an embodiment of the id. In other words, the creature who was created out of Victor's selfish, rash desires ends up haunting Victor as the unconscious haunts individuals. The concept of the uncanny is also frequently used to decipher the familiar within the unfamiliar, as the creature is built from beautiful human parts and has human proportions, yet still regarded as monstrous, eliciting fear from humans. The theme of the double is also widely explored under the Lacanian lens. Likewise, this Gothic novel throws many other perspectives on the literary field to be analysed. It has engendered numerous studies and variations of the tale. However, perhaps it is important to bear in mind that the creature cannot be interpreted as a black and white evil entity. When reading the book, the reader cannot help but feel sympathy towards the monstrous being who was abandoned by his creator on birth, always shunned by humans his entire life, and even denied a banished life with an equally horrendous partner. In some ways, the audience even feels that Victor is somewhat irresponsible, while pitying him for all the losses and guilt, of course. This creature has strived so hard to be loved and accepted, even to the point of teaching himself language and philosophy. So, there lies the question. Is it possible to imagine that this love-craving, intelligent monster might have led a completely different life had he been nurtured and guided by Victor at his birth? The question remains dependent on the reader's interpretation. Thank you very much for listening to the presentation.